He is Rob Demovsky. Rob, good morning. Hello from the much ballyhooed cafeteria dining room as part of the tour of Lambeau Field. Like, people think we're in there getting served filet mignon every day. That is not the case.
Yeah, as anybody can see on video, there's literally not a crumble, a morsel of food in here. And this beautiful pop machine, yes, I call it pop, is turned off. So there is no freebies here. But thank you for that introduction. And your agent cut will be in your Venmo at some point today.
Apparently they like green and gold.
Maybe just give me a discount on that putter that you're trying to get rid of on Facebook Marketplace. All right, so tell me, I'm not there. I'm not helping with transcription, being the good teammate that I am. Bisaccia, Hafley, and Stenovich all talked this morning. Yeah. What jumped out at you from your conversations that I wasn't able to be part of with the coordinators?
Well, we'll go in reverse order. Hafley was last, but it's fresh in my mind. Look, he talked for 18 minutes, and I realized we're at the point, where everything's rosy. But that guy doesn't say, like, a bad word about anybody, which, hey, credit to him. And I'm sure guys, don't want to be criticized in the media. But it'll be interesting to see, what happens when, something's going to break down. That's just the way you can still have a great defense, and there'll be mistakes. But, for right now, everything's wonderful. Everything's great. I asked him if he thinks that his guys need to play, his starters need to play more in the preseason than maybe they would have in the past around here because it's a new scheme. And, he obviously punted and took, said that, oh, that's Matt LaFleur's call, and obviously it is. But he did point out that, two things will help. One, the joint practices that they're going to have with, Denver and Baltimore, I believe. They're going to have one with each will be, even if I remember right, Rodgers even said those were more valuable than the preseason games, if I remember that right.
After the Houston one, because he complained about the Houston one.
Yeah. Because that was vanilla, right? They didn't show anything. Yeah. But then the other thing is, he talked about how complex Matt LaFleur and Adam Stenovich's offense is with all the motions and pre-snap movement and disguise. And he's like, that's as good a test as you'll see, from anybody, which, obviously he's praising LaFleur and the Packers offense for that. When you go to Steno, it's interesting because, Steno's a little bit more of a veteran, and he'll take on a question about, why a guy, maybe isn't doing what he hopes. And in fact, Andre Dillard came up, the veteran tackle that they signed who struggled. And he said, look, Andre's really good on one side. Maybe he's not so good on the other. We need to do a better job of helping him, get in the right position. And so at least there was some of that. And then look, Bisaccia, I thought the most interesting thing was it was a little bit of an extension of what referee Clete Blakeman told us the other day in that referee seminar, that Bisaccia thinks that there's going to be some adjustments and changes to this kickoff rule, as we go through the season, which is unusual, right? Usually when there's a rule change, they vote something in, and it's that way from now till the end of the season, and they review it. But he thought, and Blakeman had mentioned this, briefly, that there's going to be some adjustments, and there's the whole, unintended or unforeseen consequences. And, I think that's going to be really interesting to see what tweaks they make to that rule. Kevin Seifert had an exhaustive, detailed, unbelievable look at the kickoff rule that ran today on ESPN.com. And I saw my name was a contributor on the bottom of it. I must have sent him a quote from Bisaccia at some point, although I don't exactly remember what it was. But I actually can't wait to read that full story about it because, Kevin's so up on the rules. But the fact that this thing isn't set in stone and we're about to play football here in a few weeks is pretty interesting to me.
So you and I sat through Clete Blakeman's presentation. I just want to make sure everybody understands that the onside kick is exactly the same as it was last year. You can only do it in the final 2 minutes of games now, so there are no surprise onside kicks. But just to clarify, it's the same as it ever was.
Yeah,
same as it ever was. I do think this is fascinating. I mean, you and I is 29 years for me, 28 years for you. You add that up, and we're really old, right? And as I said to Bisaccia last time I was able to go to that, how often does it happen in a career? He's 63, 64 years old. He's been doing this forever. how often do you get something so out of the blue different in any walk of life of any career? So do you think, you just used the word unintended consequences, and that was perfect. What do you think this is going to be an exciting play, or do you think it's going to be kind of a train wreck that takes a while to figure out how to make it an exciting play again?
Yeah. Or is it going to be a dud that just doesn't work, right? Like it doesn't make it any more exciting than it is. That was always the thing when you talk to guys on the competition committee. They always tried to, examine all the unforeseen or unintended consequences of a rule change or a procedural change. And with this one, Jason, I'm not sure they know what those are going to be. That's what's going to make the preseason all that, even more interesting, or I guess interesting at all, because I don't find the preseason to be very interesting in most cases. But I did watch the Troy Vincent video on the rule changes, and he did make the point there were however many kickoffs, 13 in the Super Bowl, and none of them was returned, right? So, I mean, it was almost just a going through the motions type thing. The only thing I can think of that's so, radical since the time that I've been covering the league, I guess, is probably instant replay, or when did the 2-point conversion come in? I feel like my first season was 97, and I feel like it was already in then, because I remember, didn't Dave Wanstead go for 2 at the end of a game to try to beat the Packers, and it was basically like Wanstead was going to get fired. It was a desperation move, so I think that was already in the game when I got here in 97. So I really don't know, other than maybe some of the replay changes and replay additions and coaches' challenges and all that there's been anything quite, this dramatic.
Yeah, and certainly replay wasn't brought back in time for Jerry Rice's fumble, which we obviously all remember from the playoffs.
98, yeah.
You mentioned Steno. Obviously, he's an old offensive line coach, but you and I were talking about this yesterday. You don't have Zach Tom practicing. Mm-hmm. Josh Myers was gone for a personal matter. Elton Jenkins has had 2 days of practice that he was off and 2 days that he played center. You got your left guard starting. You got your right guard starting at left guard when Elton's not there in Sean Ryan. And then you've got your first-round pick, who was a left tackle by trade and announced that he wanted to be the left tackle, playing right tackle. So when Steno looks at where his offensive line is, does he have any idea where his offensive line actually is?
Well, that's a great question. And let's deal with the Jordan Morgan thing right off the bat, because, he made no secret that he wants to be a left tackle. He started, 37 college games at left tackle, and he's played right guard. And, Steno was asked, is he staying at right guard for now because of there's guys missing, or is he eventually going to get, is he going to get the, the chance to play left tackle? I tweeted the quote, which I thought was pretty telling, which basically told us he's not going to be a left tackle. And the quote from Steno was, when we look at the big picture of where he would compete best this year for a starting role, we thought the right guard position was the spot. That sounds like it's him and Sean Ryan for the right guard spot. And I guess I had sort of penciled Sean Ryan in there. And to me, the competition was going to be whether it was Rasheed Walker or Jordan Morgan at left tackle, but it sure doesn't sound like that's the case at all.
Yeah, they must really like Rasheed Walker more than a lot of other people did. And I give him a ton of credit. I remember we were at the departure for the tailgate tour, and he said what he was supposed to say. I don't care if they draft the guy in the first round. Well, his performance would show that he hasn't cared and that he has answered the bell. If Steno's not calling you out like he called out Yosh Nijman, that's a pretty good sign of how you're handling things.
Well, remember, Jason, I think it was Rasheed Walker's real early in training camp, maybe one of his first training camp practices as a rookie. I think it was Steno or Butkus. I think it was Luke Butkus, the offensive line coach, who was just relentless in ripping him in front of everybody. Now, ripping may be really coaching, maybe it was just coaching, but they were hard on him from the start as a very late round pick who really didn't play at all as a rookie.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get back to Hafley briefly, because this is one thing that I am struggling with, because, like you said, it's all seashells and balloons and puppy dogs and ice cream about this defense right now. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to be a really terrific defense, right? I mean, we have
Right.
seen them. They owned Sean Clifford and the number one offense. They've been getting takeaways. So, as you, with your experience, watch this defense, are there things like, for me, this whole vision and break zone coverage is what's jumped out. Like, they're seeing the ball more. They're having more opportunities to make plays on the ball in the back end. Is that, and what else is jumping out at you just as you watch it in practice?
Yeah, the thing, Jason, that I think may be telling, and I might be proven wrong on this, but maybe telling to why this defense is going to work and this system is better and this coaching staff knows what they're doing, is because the young guys are making plays. It's not just the veterans. It's not always just Quay Walker and Xavier McKinney and Jair Alexander. I mean, it's Kalen King yesterday picking off Jordan Love. It's Evan Williams with 3 interceptions. It's Javon Bullard making plays on the football. Anthony Johnson Jr. These young guys. And I talked to Evan Williams about this yesterday, and I asked him, how is a young guy who really is still learning this scheme and learning how to play at this level able to make these plays? And he said, look, the coaches have made it easy, and like I know we've heard in the past about how complicated some defensive systems are. I'm sure this one is complex. It's not 1 or 2 calls, but for whatever reason, these guys have been able to pick it up. And it's not like they're vanilla either, because Evan Williams said the interception he got yesterday was the first play of the 2-minute with Sean Clifford. I mean, it was basically like a walk-off interception to end a game. He said that the reason that play worked was because it was disguised well. So if they're able to do this and pull off some of this stuff this early in the process with this young players, that at least tells me that they're doing something right with the way they're teaching it, the way they're implementing it, and the way they've designed it.
All right, last thing so we can let you get back to work in the lunchroom and wait for your filet mignon to be delivered. Jordan Love, we got to talk about the contract. Jordan Love gets $220 million overall, $155 million guaranteed. Of that, $75 million in the signing bonus. His guaranteed money, I keep pointing to this. Yeah, he got $55 million a year, ties him with Burrow and Lawrence for average per year, highest in the league. But other than Lawrence, all those other quarterbacks got more guaranteed money, right? Yeah. All those guys in the top 10. I'm curious when you look at this. He's got this year, he's got next year, I guess 2026. When you look at the structure, and I don't know, have you gotten, you've got access to the contract structure.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up. What time is it? 11:36. 23 minutes ago, I checked. I got a text message from one of my people that says, I still do not have the official numbers yet. Once I will get that in, I will let you know. I also asked about whether there were any other specifics in the contract about a no trade clause, no franchise tag type thing. So those are things that we still don't know yet. I just think it's really hard to, sort of talk, with any certainties about this contract without seeing all of that. And it's Monday morning, the NFLPA, whenever they get around to inputting this stuff, or whether it's been sent in officially from the team to the NFL Management Council, that's all probably wasn't going to happen over the weekend. So I would suspect we'll have a better idea of that within the next 24 to 48 hours. So I guess to answer your question, Jason, it's just really hard to know. Look, we know that it was, and I think we talked about this when it happened. What other choice did they have but to give Jordan Love the type of extension that they did? I mean, he wasn't going to play for $11 million this year. You weren't going to say, okay, we'll sit out. You've invested too much time. And certainly the backers weren't going to – they don't want to start over at quarterback and have this thing become, if it became, combative and this year was ugly from that standpoint. The position's too important. They felt too good about what they had seen, over the last half of last season and everything that they did, everything that Jordan did to get to this point, over the last, 3 years before he played. There was no other option than to do this contract. I don't see, and maybe, in 3 years you'll play this clip back, and if Jordan Love ended up not being good and they had to draft somebody else, maybe you'll say, hey, look, Rob, you were wrong, that there were other options. But at this point, I just don't know what other options that there were if you were the Green Bay Packers than to pay Jordan Love the type of contract that you did.
No, I won't be doing that to you because either he'll be good or they made the decision they had to make at the time that they made it. But the question that I was going to ask you is this that's okay. Is this Lord knows I get interrupted a lot on this show. It's all good. Is this 3-year window, though, like the prime window for them to win a title? Because, yes, they're paying their quarterback, but his cap numbers aren't onerous to the degree of, oh, my God, how are we going to make other – and they've got so many other guys on rookie deals.
Well, they didn't – that's a great point. They didn't necessarily get the benefit of the quarterback on a rookie deal because, they had to pay the Aaron Rodgers thing, and last year there was all that dead money. But they are getting the benefit of – they're going to have, this year, two more years, including this year, of Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs on their rookie deals, 3 more years, including this year, of Dontavian Wicks and Jaden Reed on their rookie deals. The Josh
and
Jacobs,
Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft.
And the Josh Jacobs deal, while expensive, isn't like it's not top of the market money. So you look at all the skill positions, they've got a window here with those guys on these contracts. Now, if Christian Watson ends up having a 75 catch, 1,200 yard, 10 touchdown season, does he want a new deal going into his last year? Sure, maybe. But there's definitely a window. And it's just, they're going to be the youngest team in the NFL again for the second straight year. They're young across the board, really. And one of their older players, Kenny Clark, just got an extension. So he's going to be around for a while. So I do think that this is the opening of what could be, in the short term, at least the next 2 to 3 years of being absolutely Super Bowl contenders. And then depending on how things progress, beyond that with roster additions, free agency, they're still positioned pretty well for a longer term run.